Welcome to episode 5.
I'm back, baby.
Where I get a test that pretty much dictates the next couple weeks of my life. Let me take you with me. So in this episode, I am getting a bone marrow biopsy. And what is that? Well, it's a pretty simple and basic procedure. What it is they take a drill into your pelvis, go through the bone, and they take, a needle or a tube to go into your bone marrow, suck out a sample of bone marrow, and send it back to the labs for 2 different tests.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the f*** is that?
Like an overall test, like is it clean? And then an MRD, which is the important one that we want to really focus on. It's the minimal residual disease, where it pretty much shows any abnormal cells, aka cancer cells, if they're in your bone marrow or blood. We really need that number to not show any abnormal cells. And the reason it's so important is because it will dictate the next few weeks of my treatment going into transplant, because whatever the results show will tell me whether I need to get a lot more chemo, a lot heavier chemo. If the chemo is still working, or I can continue on with the same regular chemo until I go into transplant pretty much. So it's gonna tell me, do I need to up the ante?
With Peter Griffin. Oh, he's not looking at much of anything right now. And those mirrored sunglasses, not doing him any favors. All in.
Or is what we're doing okay working? We need that MRD to be 0 before I can go into transplant, because success rate is so much higher when you go into a transplant when in remission. Remission is when you have 0 signs of cancer or leukemia cells still in your body. That's the goal, and this MRD will pretty much tell us that. Okay, so hopefully I did not mansplain that too much, but basically all it is it's a procedure that they drill into your pelvis, pull a sample of your bone marrow, send it off to a lab, and the lab will tell you this is what it looks like, and then the doctor evaluates it and says, you need to do this or continue doing this. Let me get back to you once it's all done, and I will share the results and the experiences, so keep fingers crossed. Here at the Mayo today. That's the main building. I'm going to the northwest building, the one under construction, so that I can go get a procedure. Bone marrow biopsy. Praying for zeros. This new wing of the hospital feels like a fancy airport. Oh crap. This is very challenging now that I am connected. And the procedure is done. There's a hole in my pelvis, the left side. But I'm laying here, chilling, slowly waking up from the anesthesia. Gonna go get some food because fasting sucks. Okay, I'm back.
I'm back, idiots! Yay!
The procedure is done and my ass hurts.
Ha! Gay!
Okay, wait, hold on, that's not what I meant. Like my bone above my butt, like my lower back really hurts. Anyways, the doctor called me, the results are in, and we have great news. The MRD shows 0. That's exactly what we wanted to see. That means in the sample of bone marrow that they took and sent off to the lab, they couldn't see any signs of abnormal cells, aka my leukemia, being there. So that means technically I'm in remission right now. There's no signs of cancer or leukemia in my body, which is exactly what we want to see. And that means all I have to do is continue doing the same treatment, so the Nolarabine week on, week off, until I get to transplant. I don't have to up my chemo. I don't have to throw in different chemos. It means it's still working. which is probably some of the best news we could have gotten. But you might have the same exact question as me. My question to myself, and I guess the doctors, is if I'm in remission, why do I have to get a transplant, right? If the chemo worked again and there's no signs of cancer in my body, why do I have to get a transplant? Well, I thought about that. I know the answer. It sucks because it's just the way it is. So with leukemia, it's not like a lot of other cancers. It's blood. It's bone marrow. It's your whole body is like full of cancer because there's blood everywhere, right? It's not just like a lot of other cancers where there's a tumor or a mass where you can just cut it off and guess what? The cancer's gone. Well, when you take a bone marrow biopsy, you're only testing that sample of your bone marrow, right? And technically because bone marrow is everywhere in your body, well, everywhere in your bones, and your bones are everywhere, you're really only testing that, so it could be anywhere else, right? So even though that sample shows 0, which is exactly what we wanted to see, the possibility of it still existing in my body is still there, unfortunately. And we've gotten to the point, because my last 3.5 years worth of treatment ended up coming back, we have to go with a transplant because that means it still could be hiding somewhere in me, even though the samples are showing clean, right? So to do that, they're gonna, the transplants eradicate everything from my bone marrow and blood, kill it all, and then fill me back up with someone else, because that's really the only way you can make sure that you're not missing a spot, is to get rid of everything else, everywhere it could be, and replace it with new good stuff, right? It sucks, but that's what it is. But, nevertheless, good news, the MRD shows 0, so we can keep going forward with the same path and not have to, change it all up and add new stuff and find new allergies. There's so much with adding different chemos and, treatment plans to stuff. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. I cannot tell you how appreciative I am for every single one of you guys showing me so much support throughout everything that I'm doing right now, whether it's about my cancer journey or my content creation journey. I'm combining the two, and I love every second of it, and your support is just amazing. So thank you so much. If you haven't yet liked and subscribed to this video, go down below and hit those like and subscribe buttons, and make sure you tune in for the next episode. See you then. Peace.